Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to today's daily quiz session. Before we begin today's questions, there's a very important announcement. As you know, the Target Prelims 2023 initiative is now all set to enter its next stage. We are now coming back on YouTube with live sessions from 24th of April till the 15th of May every single evening from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. The objective is very simple. We will be discussing current affairs of the last 365 days in the form of MCQs. So, subject wise, there will be MCQs that will be discussed, and we'll be discussing important topics, especially from the current affairs subject wise of the last 1 year. This is the schedule. We are starting from the 24th of April with Indian economics. Then we'll go on to Indian polity, environment ecology, science and tech, international relations, government scheme, art and culture, reports, and everything else that you require for your preparation. Make sure that you attend each and every session of this series. It will be live from 7:30 to 9:30 on our YouTube channel. Now let's begin with the very first question. Consider the following statements with regards to Special Marriage Act of 1954. Number 1. The applicability of this act extends to the people of all faiths, including Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, Jains, and Buddhists across the country. Second, Section 5 of the Act specifies that the parties must give written notice to the marriage officer of the district, and at least one of the parties should have lived in the district for at least 30 days immediately before the date of such notification. Third, Section 7 of the Act allows any person to object to the marriage before the expiration of 30 days from the date of the notice's publication. How many of these given statements are incorrect? As you know, the Supreme Court right now is hearing the matter about the legality of same-sex marriage. Under this, the Supreme Court is also discussing the Special Marriage Act and whether the same-sex marriage can be given a legal status under the Special Marriage Act. And that is why the law is in the news. The correct answer over here would be D. All the statements are true, none of the statements are wrong. This act, as you know, was made so that people who are marrying outside their religion or people who are marrying different religions and they don't want to change their own religion, they should be accommodated here if they are not applicable in any personal laws. This law applies to all the religions across the country. For this kind of marriage to happen, written notice has to be given to the marriage officer, and also a general public can raise objections to this within 30 days of the issue of such a notice. The reason why we're discussing this question is because, as I said, Supreme Court is hearing the matter about same-sex marriage, and there have been a lot of talks about the Special Marriage Act. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements. Number 1. A civil union refers to the legal status that allows same-sex couples specific rights and responsibilities normally conferred upon married couples. Second, although a civil union resembles a marriage and brings with it employment, inheritance, property, and parental rights, there are some differences between the two. Between the two means between civil union and marriage. Third, as per the adoption rules in India, a child can be adopted only when there is consent of both the spouses for the adoption in case of a married couple, and a single male shall not be eligible to adopt a girl child. Which of these given statements is or are correct? Again, the question is with respect to the institution of marriage that is in the news in the Supreme Court and in the society at large. The correct answer here again is D. Civil union is similar to marriage, just it doesn't have the legal status of marriage. It allows the rights to a couple to live together. A lot of countries have specific laws about civil union, giving them the right to employment, inheritance, property, etc. As we discussed, the Supreme Court is hearing the matter about the same-sex marriage. The centre government, that is represented through Solicitor General Mr. Tushar Mehta, is against the idea of this, and the judiciary is right to confer legal status on this institution of marriage. As per the Government of India, it is a parliament's job to decide which kind of marriages or which kind of a civil union should be allowed in the country or not. There's an article in the Indian Express today that talks about the civil union and which are the different countries which allow civil union, such as the US, Sweden, Norway, etc. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements. Number 1. India is a signatory to the Information Technology Agreement, which came into effect in July 1997. and accounts for more than 95% of the world trade in products such as computers, telecom equipment, semiconductors, and scientific instruments. Second, as a part of our signatory to the agreement, India is required to eliminate the tariffs on these products. Third, at the Nairobi Ministerial Conference in December 2016, the nations decided to conclude the expansion of the agreement and named it Information Technology 2 Agreement. Which of these given statements is or are correct? As you know, this agreement specifically is in the news in the WTO. The fact that WTO panel has actually taken a decision against India. So the simple issue is India, despite being a party to the first IT agreement, has still been imposing import duty on these kind of equipments. That is why nations such as Japan, Taiwan, EU have gone to WTO complaining that India is wrong in imposing those duties. WTO panel in this case has decided to rule against India. First and the second statements are true. Third is wrong. India is not a party to this agreement, and also the IT2 agreement was a result of Nairobi conference of 2015 and not 2016. So this one single fact is wrong here. It was a 2015 conference and not 2016. So the answer here has to be A. 1 and 2 are correct. As you can see here from this Indian Express article, India is all set to appeal against the WTO panel ruling. India's defense will be simple. India's argument is, when this agreement was first signed in 1997, in that agreement, the products that India is importing today were not a part of that agreement. India is saying that the technology is changing very, very fast, and the products that we are importing right now from Japan, Taiwan, EU, etc. were never a part of that agreement. That is our line of defense. Next, question number 4. Which of the following is not correct about National Mobile Monitoring System app? As you know, this is an app especially about Manrega workers and how to track their attendance. First, National Mobile Monitoring Software app was launched by the Ministry of Cooperative in May 2021. Second, National Mobile Monitoring app is applicable for the Manrega workers for all states and UTs. Third, the main feature is the real-time photograph geotag attendance of every worker to be taken once in each half of the day. Each half means once before lunch and once after lunch. Fourth, the app helps in increasing citizen oversight of the program. Which of these is not correct? The answer here has to be A. It is not the Ministry of Cooperative that has launched the app. It is actually the Ministry of Rural Development. That is a ministry that looks into Manrega. So the Ministry of Rural Development has launched the app and not the Ministry of Cooperative. First statement is wrong, and that is why the answer here has to be A. All the other three statements are true. As you know, this app is a lot in the news. A lot of Manrega workers have been protesting against it. A lot of them don't even have access to mobile phones. They don't know how to use these apps. There have been discrepancies as well. Also, Manrega has been in the news because of other reasons as well. As you can see here, the deadline for Aadhaar-based payment under Manrega has been extended because the government also thinks that there are certain issues in the Manrega payment system that have still not been resolved. Next is a previous year question from 2021. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26 Jan 1950? Means when the constitution came into force, what was the constitutional status of India? A democratic republic, a sovereign democratic republic, a secular democratic republic, or a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. Now this is the current status. As you know, currently India is defined by using these words in the preamble. However, you would also know that the words socialist and secular were actually added later on by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Thus, at the time that Constitution came into force, this was India's status. India was defined as a sovereign democratic republic. Socialist and secular were the words that were added later on in the preamble by 42nd Amendment 1976. It was a pretty easy question to answer from 2021. Next is a fact of the day, and today we want to discuss about whether or not there are distress signs in the plants as well. Will the plants also come under certain stress, and what signs do we see from the plants? The reason why this article is written is that last month a group of researchers from Israel reported that they were able to pick up certain distress noises made by plants. Researchers said that plants have been making very high-pitched noises that are in the ultrasonic range, which are kind of like stress signals indicating that they might need some water and they have lack of water. This is the first time that this kind of an invention has been made. However, there are reports that suggest that many Indian scientists have already discussed such theories earlier. In fact, many generations ago, the famous Indian scientist, that is Jagdish Chandra Bose, J.C. Bose, about a century ago, had said that plants experience sensations and they are able to feel pressure and pain just like the animals. This is a simple reason why you would remember when we were kids, your parents would used to tell you, don't pluck the leaves from the plants. Remember, don't pluck the flowers of the plant because the plants also feel the pain. That was a kind of a message that our parents used to give us, which was actually real as per many Indian scientists. The discoveries that the plants cry in distress, and this is not very far off from what we were always taught as kids. J.C. Bose, as you know, is remembered for a lot of things. He is remembered for his work on wireless transmission of signals and on the physiology of plants as well. In fact, he is the person who is credited to be one of the people behind the solid state physics. Not just this, J.C. Bose is also widely believed to be the first one to generate electromagnetic signals in microwave range as well. A lot of his colleagues have even won the Nobel Prize. For example, Mr. Marconi, an Italian scientist who carried out the first transmission of signals across the Atlantic in 1901, was recognized as the sole inventor of radio. He was a colleague of Mr. J.C. Bose. So Mr. J.C. Bose and his contribution in the field of science is unparalleled, and this article shows us that this contribution was not just in the field of science and electromagnetic waves, but also in the fields of plant as well. This brings us to the end of today's session of the daily quiz. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day ahead. Jai Hind.